Turn off the audio here for a second, just in case it blows out our ears, and it does. Oh, squirrel! Joy. For those of you not familiar with Squirrel, every Thursday at 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. PST. Yes, that's the plan. He's one of those people that intentionally groups with lower level players, or has people crash accounts down to bronze in Team League, and then groups with them so he can get top gem in Team League every single season. And the sad thing is he's not actually a bad player, obviously, because he gets masters on ladder, I think, every season as well. In Hero League, it's just solo queue. But yeah, hope he gets banned. I mean, he's not actually doing anything against the rules, is the thing. The way Team League's set up, you can do that, and it's fine. So again, another D.va game. My question from Lovely is, am I gonna get any non-D.va games to review, or should I just write a D.va guide and you can just read the guide? Smurf accounts are against the rules. Smurf accounts are not against the rules. Officially, if you go read Blizzard's thing, you can have up to 3 accounts in each region. That's in their terms of service. Taking in accounts MMR. How do you prove that? Even if it was strictly against the rules, how do you prove it? Not sure if Thrall into Arthas works. Thrall into Arthas does not work, by the way. Thrall gets dumpstered. Absolutely dumpstered by Arthas. It's one of the most hilariously one-sided lane matchups ever. Actually, this is a funny story. I was playing Team League, and I was playing against... we were playing against another team, and there was another streamer. I can't remember her name. But she wasn't playing Thrall. But I whispered her after the match and being like, if your Thrall had not tried so hard to win in the lane against Arthas, you might have had a better chance. I'm sorry, your Thrall played so badly. And she was like, if I'd been playing Thrall, I would have won. I'm like, it doesn't actually work that way.
2, 1. Let the battle begin.
K-Dop, thank you for the host. Wow. That's a big host, 54 viewers. Thank you so much. That's an auto host too. Just automatically happening. So we are doing sub replay review for the people who just joined us. Lovely, a lovely contestant, won the first sub replay review. We usually do at least 2, sometimes 3. And we're just going to be focusing a lot on Lovely's play as D.va. And this is essentially a solo tank D.va, which works really well on maps that don't have a big objective. If you have a straight up team fight over an objective, unless it's Infernal Shrines, it can be very, very difficult to solo tank D.va. But on skirmish oriented maps, it's much more tenable to draft D.va in this role, because she's really good at delaying on the shrines themselves, which allows, she can sit on a shrine 1v2 and get out safely for quite a while, and that allows her team to potentially cap. Or she can, her rotation speed on D.va is really, really good. Thrall pick was after the Arthas pick too. Yeah, don't draft. Solo laning matters. There's no way to put this. Solo laning matters. If you're planning a particular, 1v1, a lot of times it's just a rock, paper, scissors matchup. If you don't, if you draft a hero, you should know who's a solo laner. You should know what matchups they're good in and which matchups they're not good on. So you shouldn't draft a hero into a losing matchup in lane, especially on Dragonshire and Braxis and Tomb. Those are the big 3 where solo laning is the most important thing in many ways. This should be responded to. This is actually a really good decision by the duo here, because beetles help absorb the shots. This is rich hero, by the way. It's pretty funny. And Asmodee can actually laser down buildings very, very effectively. The danger here is that this comp does not have a global. So the correct response here is to leave one person, at least, to clear mid, and then have one person go bottom. Even if they get tower top, they'll end up missing. They should end up missing the wave. And this should be like a 3v2. Instead, it's just Illidan that goes.
Blue team draws first blood.
Not great. You get the kill on the Uther here in the mid lane, though, so that's absolutely fine. And as soon as the wave is clear, the call ought to be to rotate and try and look for the denial of the soak here. I've actually never seen, in all the replay review I've ever done, I've never seen Arthas lose the lane to Thrall. I've seen Arthas get ganked by the rest of the team, but I've never seen Arthas lose. And I'm talking like I've reviewed bronze level players, and Arthas still wins. It's actually ridiculous.
The ancient shrines awaken. Control them.
You don't even necessarily need to take Rhyme, and you'll still win the lane. If you take Rhyme, it's even like... Alright, so good call on the rotation here. Just constantly rotating, being annoying. That's not a useful defense matrix. I'm not, like... as far as I'm aware, defense matrix is heroes only, right? It doesn't work on the minion wave. If it did work on the minion wave, it would actually be useful to defense matrix the minion wave in push comps, because you would reduce the damage to your minion wave. But it's not really... You're not really zoning the Vala away at all. You're missing the opportunity to use your area damage. Defense matrix, and this is a theme I harped on a lot last week, and I'm going to harp on it constantly. When you're reviewing your own replays, one of the best things you can do is go back, look at your replay, and be like, every time I push a button, what happened? And did pushing the button, using QWER actually accomplish anything? Or did I just not really do anything? So I think the intention here was good. Get the defense matrix on the Vala so that you can limit the Vala's wave clear a little bit. But because the Vala is faster than you, and because it didn't actually happen, you just didn't get what you wanted. If that was the intention, that's okay. But if you were just not really thinking about it, then that was just a waste of your W. This W, right? QW, yeah. This is the danger, by the way, of referring to things by name, is you sometimes forget what key they're on when you're not actually playing the hero. Whereas every other caster that I know refers to everything by the key it's on. They sometimes don't remember the name. Arthas is completely out of mana. Arthas should not be out of mana this early on, by the by. These laning arrangements are super weird, by the way. This is not... Arthas should be up here, dumpstering either Illidan or Thrall, but I guess he needs to feel important by being in the bottom lane. Why is he already out of mana? That's a really good question. I don't know the answer. We're not reviewing Arthas' play here, but he should not be out of mana this early on. And here's where I'm talking about with D.va. D.va, yeah, immediately queue back on and stay on the point for a little while, get the auto attack, defense matrix, so you're not taking as much damage. And D.va can just stay on this point for an exceptionally long period of time. D.va's a really good pick on the Dragonshire, and on the Crystallo for the same reason. D.va can just lay tributes for a really long time. Almost got the kill onto the Vala there. Forcing them to Hearth is actually, at this stage in the game, an individual hero kill is not worth that much experience. In fact, it's worth less than a minion wave. If you can force someone out of lane to the point where they miss a wave, that's actually just as good as killing them, basically. So a lot of effective trading going on with D.va here so far in the early game. No D.va deaths so far. Nicely done. That was a good defense matrix because you actually had the Vala in it, and she felt pressured to back all the way up. And I think you got the multi-shot in there, which is something you should be looking for. If you have a hero that you're opposing in lane and they have a wave clear ability, trying to get the defense matrix on the wave clear ability, so Kael'thas with the Flame Strike, Vala with the multi-shot, Jaina with the Blizzard, whatever, you're going to actually significantly impact their wave clear. And it's something I don't see very many D.vas doing, so it's actually good that you're trying to do it. It is going to be difficult against a mobile hero like Vala, though. I think that's what you're trying to do. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Oh, the escape is real. The escape is real. That actually feels bad. This Greyman's gonna go for it. He's like, I can get this. I can get this. There's no way the Greyman gets this. He tried so hard, though. Pause. So Asmodan's basically soloing against the Illidan here. That's a weird matchup. I think I talked to Logan about this not too long ago, and I think laser build Asmo actually wins 1v1 against Illidan, but the other builds of Asmodan do not. So this should be a winning matchup for Illidan, but with the rotation from Rhaegar here, it's going to be fine regardless. Lovely does finally lose her mech, is forced to back up. One of the other reasons that D.va's especially good on this map is because even if you lose your mech, as long as you don't die, you're always like near a minion wave, so there's always something you can attack to get your mech back really, really quickly. Rhaegar almost biting himself to death. And the mech's back up. The annoyance is a real thing. So here's an interesting debate I have whenever I play D.va. If I'm on a map like Infernal Shrines, I'm saving my explosion for the objective pretty much no matter what, because I want to make sure my team wins the objective. If I'm on a map like Dragonshire, where the objective generally happens for a very long time, and all you're really going to do is hold one temple until you get a decisive advantage, and then you can try and go for actually capping. When you use your explosion is much, much more flexible, but you still want to get value out of it no matter what. And that's a much harder thing to do. Like, do you save it with the expectation that you're going to be able to get the Dragon Knight? Because if you go into Dragon Knight in pilot mode, your mech will be available when it's over, and you can jump right back into your mech, right? So you can zone people away from the turn-in point, or the capture point, with the mech explosion, and then pick up the Dragon Knight, and you'll be safe coming out of it. That's a really, good decision. But at the same time, you really want to burn your mech, like burn the explosion so that it starts charging up again, because there's some lost opportunity cost there. So whenever my mech is available and I'm not on a map like Infernal Shrines where I know I'm saving it, I start looking for opportunities to be like, okay, how can I get some kind of value here? Even if it's just push. And one of the things that I've found I can do really, really effectively is actually go clear camp. If you when your mech was available, if you went and stole these bottom bruisers, yeah, you're losing the explosion, but it only takes like 5 or 8 seconds to actually clear the bruiser camp with the mech explosion, and then you just hop right back in your mech and you can start charging it up again, and then suddenly there's map pressure. And the map pressure is something that has to be responded to. So bruiser camps, really, really good. Really, really good mech explosion targets. And you always want to be thinking about that. You always want to be thinking about how can I most effectively use every piece of my hero's kit to put as much pressure on the enemy team as I can. So I would have, as soon as my mech charged, and if there was nothing specific I needed to do, and it's unusual, right? People don't expect you to be able to grab camps mid-Dragon Knight. Normally when you grab a camp, you're grabbing it between Dragon Knights. You can solo it with an explosion, yes. It's actually pretty trivial. It's actually, Siege are actually harder to solo with an explosion because Siege camps have about as much HP as Bruiser camps, but it's like amongst 2 targets instead of 4. So area damage abilities give you a huge advantage when it comes to soloing Bruiser camps. Rhaegar's doing things. Tracy didn't. This is a little bit of a mistake by the Rhaegar. He should have totemed and then lightning bombed the totem. It's a little trick. Whenever you have lightning bond and you're doing a siege camp, you can throw your totem down and lightning bond it. And at a certain point, like 1 rotation of lightning shield and you're done if you use your bite appropriately and spread the damage evenly. So you actually have a lot of heroes here who can, and Illidan obviously can solo camps. Like you could be, your entire team could be putting on a lot of camp pressure right now. Yeah, the only reason I know that, Lovely, is it's the first thing I do when I go into try mode. One of the first things I do when I go into try mode with the new hero is like, can this hero solo a camp? Like, literally one of the first things I do. D.va can actually solo a boss, too. If you have an explosion available and you have a full health mech, you can start a boss in mech mode. You can wait till the mech's about to die, explode the mech, continually attack in pilot mode until the boss is going to kill you, get back into the mech, and then the mech will finish the boss. It's not efficient, and it takes like over a minute, just about. It's like just a little bit more than a minute, but it is possible to solo bosses as D.va. It's very rarely worthwhile. I've only found a couple of instances on Sky Temple and Warhead Junction where I was like, this is a good idea. But really wish Illidan was the one doing this camp. So again, we're seeing a lot of zoning going on here, and this is something D.va can do. We talked about offensively zoning, so you can hold the shrine for a long time and allow your team to cap. This is, you have actually have a lot of defensive zoning as well, and this is the same thing she has Cursed Hollow. Your just ability to continually bump people away from this. Yeah. For the record, it's gotten better. So I did an interview with Blizzard, a lead hero designer at Blizzard last BlizzCon, and I asked him specifically, what do you think constitutes a solo tank? And his definition was kind of, his answer was kind of circular at the time. It's someone who can solo tank, and I'm like, well, yeah. But they said durability and peel was basically the answer. And that's like 2 of the 4 things that I think constitute a solo tank. They recently added, when they were asked this question in a Q&A on Reddit, initiation. So now there's 3 out of the 4 things that I think are necessary. They don't think mobility is necessary. And I think mobility is necessary to be a true solo tank. I think there's heroes that can get away with it. Arthas, at points in his career, has gotten away with not having any mobility, but that's because he could literally like walk into a 1v5 and then walk back out. So it's a little bit different. Also, he has, mounts, and he's better on maps with bushes, so he can initiate from a bush. So I don't know if Garrosh is going to be a solo tank or really just part of a really strong double tank combo, which would still be fine. Like, it would still be closer to anything we've had as a tank recently, but it's not ideal.
Hero slain.
So close. This isn't going to apply to every Vala, but it applies to this Vala. This Vala, actually, it seems like is hitting Z to dismount and then hitting W. If you look at the animation delay, like, the W should happen instantly if she were hitting W. So I think she's actually hitting Z. And that gives you a clue that she's about to multi-shot, because she's been doing it consistently. One of the things you want to start doing at a really high level of play is every game, look for patterns in what your opponents are doing and try and abuse the patterns. So this Uther's like using stun on cooldown. If stun's not available, then you can W freely. Vala's houses a little bit of delay, but W, because she's hitting some other key to dismount. Maybe it's Z, maybe it's something else, but hitting some other key to dismount, not just dismounting with the W. Pro teams have a lot of these problems. Pro teams have like a lot of instances where they always turn a certain way, or for instance, Genji's classic. Genji has a kiting motion when he uses Dragon Blade. You'll see players Q in and then tap backwards, and Q in and tap backwards. One of the things you might notice if you go look at replays is that different players always go either left or right when they're doing that kite backwards. So they'll Q in, and then either they'll turn this way or they'll turn this way, and it's consistent pretty much for every player. Every player always goes the same direction that they like to go. And if you're try to line up a skill shot after they Dragon Blade in, well, if you know which way they're turning, then you can do things with it. Being unpredictable is hard when you've spent hundreds of hours developing, muscle memory, and you want to be really crisp with your execution. It's one of the reasons that a lot of really high-level players can consistently outplay you, is because they get used to the way you move, and they're like, I know you're going to go this way, and then just boom, get hit. Really good Stitches players are really good examples of this, because like sometimes you'll have the Stitches player who like Tassadar will E, and then Stitches will throw out the hook, and Tassadar's E will end, and Tassadar will just appear in front of the hook, and you'll get hooked back in. Right? Raise your hand if you've ever seen a Stitches player like that. I certainly have. And it's because they're predicting where they're going to be able the juke, and then all that's left is getting the timing right. Sometimes it's obvious because the hero only has one direction to go, but sometimes it's not. Mech used for wave clear. If your Q's up, you actually JPL's a good example of this. JPL's a good example of this. That's how JPL does that so consistently on Stitches. He just has really good predictive ability, and he does it by looking very carefully at how people move. I think if your Q was up, you might have been able to kill the Rhaegar, and I think if you'd stopped chasing the Vala And this goes back to a very common problem in Hero League. Focus fire is always really, really bad. Whenever you have a person on your team who's focusing someone, try and focus that same person. Don't go off, after the same person. If your tank initiates on someone, try and kill the person your tank initiates on. If if there's a CC on someone and you have a follow-up CC, try and do the follow-up CC. Don't try and free initiate on your own. If there's some combination of heroics that your team has that's really good, stuff like that. Yeah, I was worried he was too close to the gate. I mean, that's just like, if you can queue in here and knock him this way, and you have the extra knockback, right? He would, then Rhaegar gets the slow off, and maybe you kill him, maybe you don't. But there's no way you're killing this Vala. I mean, you might be able to kill the Uther because it's 2-on-1. Team killing best strat. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I don't even know how many Master and Grandmaster replays we've reviewed on this stream at this point, between Throne Games Thursdays and now Sub-Review, where people don't focus the same targets, and it's just like the most tilt-inducing thing I see. Is Illidan just dumpstering this lane? Yeah, he's doing a really good job. Shout out to the Illidan, by the way, for just every time he gets rotated on, he seems totally fine. He keeps just destroying that top lane. No one's come up to help him in a while. Rhaegar, I think, did it 2 minutes ago. Oh. I meant Uther. Nice cap. And it's worth noting that this cap was after denying 2 caps, right? So D.va has been denying this cap all game, and then finally her team got an advantage, mostly because of the amount of sheer chunking she did that forced everyone to back up. Greymane in the bottom lane just did a lot of work against that Arthas somehow, even though he was in Arthas's reach. I don't understand people who go in on Arthas as Greymane in Worgen form, because you do like 40% additional damage in Worgen form, but you get a 40% attack speed slow and you're taking free damage. You can just kite Arthas forever if you dodge the root and stay in Worgen form, and then or stay in human form, and if he collapses on you, then you can go into Worgen form and escape and go back to kiting him. I don't think there's a net benefit to actually going into Worgen form against Arthas. Yeah, this is an HL game. You can kind of tell if you're familiar with a lot of the players' names. I don't think these people would be on teams together voluntarily. I like this decision, by the way. Just to pressure, because you can easily get 2 forts out of the level 10 to 8 advantage with the Dragon Knight distracting, and their team's not responding super well. Illidan's taking a lot of damage here, ends up going down. It was a mistake to praise Illidan, because every time I praise someone in any of these replayers reviews, they immediately die. That's true, but he's been doing it a lot, and he's just been sitting in it. Rich Hero's been tanking it, which I don't understand either, but it is what it is. A lot of free damage onto... Actually, I think that Curse Bullet missed, which is unfortunate. Good Earthquake. Oh, Earthquake Explosion would be really good, actually. I never thought about that, because when D.va came out, Thrall was nerfed pretty much into the ground, and he's been played a little bit since the rework. But Earthquake Explosion is pretty decent. Like, if you do them both at the same time, they're gonna take some damage, at least, from the edge. And they're gonna want to back up. Can you imagine, like, Diablo, D.va, Thrall, Earthquake, APOC, Explosion? That'd be a really good. That'd be a really good trifecta. And D.va Diablo is already like decent. Huh. Unrelated to the replay. So backwards kiting, trying to get the thing back. That's a Syndergosa. Nice Ancestral. Actually, I really miss I really miss Rhaegar's ability to ancestral himself, because I'm pretty sure if Rhaegar could ancestral himself there, you get back in the mech regardless, and then everyone lives. That's actually an instance where you, like the nerf to Rhaegar's thing is noticeable. And again, there was a detailed analysis on Reddit a while back where someone went and did a comparison between Rhaegar's win rate and the amount of hero damage he did. The lower the Rhaegar's hero damage was, the higher his win rate became. So even though Rhaegar can do a lot of damage with his bite and finish targets off if he's in the front line, it's actually safer to not be in the front line and only go in when it will actually secure a kill and then leave. Like, you don't just stay in there. And that's one of the problems we're having in this tankless composition, is that Rhaegar is like always super, super far up, and you can only peel for him when you're in mech mode, and then every time you're not in mech mode, he's just taking a ton of damage. That's not a you problem, but it's something to think about if you do. If anyone watching has a solo D.Va tank in here, like, the D.Va can only peel for you in mech mode, so if you're not in mech mode, you have to play very, very cautiously. And as Rhaegar in general, you should play back and focus on the support element of your character and not the damage. In team fights. So annoying. Mech is so annoying. I'm actually surprised I'm actually amazed they managed to save this fort, by the way. The Dragon, I thought for sure the Dragon Knight would get it, but the fort was taken. Significant structure lead. Illidan's still going top, doing some work in that regard. Has Hunt, so he's never too far away at this point. This is a good use, by the way, of D.Va's pilot mode. You can use one health bar of your pilot mode to, like, really effectively do a camp, and then...
Hero slain.
Asmon on enemy team, no chance to win? Do you never win with Asmon on your team, Basamasti?
Hero slain.
You're at full health, so you can make an argument that you're tanking some damage for the minion wave. That was a hunt to kill Vol. You can make an argument that you're getting some value from tanking damage for your own minions, so it's going to get a little more push. But this fort's already gone, and it's not going to get all the way to the wall. So sacrificing your own health here to the archers is not great. The archers actually do a surprising amount of damage. You don't want to take minion waves unless you're getting a specific benefit from it, and you're not here.
Power gathers within the shrines. Unleash the dragon's wrath.
Frosh doesn't know how to not be sarcastic. Wow, they're just letting you do this. They're just letting you grab this camp. I don't... Like, this is even talent tiers right now. I guess they think they can get more value split pushing, but you're threatening a keep at this point. No follow-up feels bad. Those are reasonable knockbacks, too. Like, I feel like if your team had been on the ball, that something could have been made to happen there. You're gonna get a keep wall out of this. That explosion didn't do enough to zone. Your health looked fine. I'm assuming you didn't do that just to... You know, if you're gonna use an explosion aggressively to secure a keep, you want to make sure it hits the keep, especially the center, like as close to the center portion. Your mech got rooted. Oh, mid. That sucks. That's just an execute. That's just like a, you know, part way through problem. Your mech is dead there no matter what, I think. And they're all rooted by the earthquake. So one of the things you could have done here is actually knocked everyone back, and then you would have been like here instead of here, so you might have been in a little more danger. But since everyone had been knocked back, everyone on your team would have been safe. If anyone dies here, like on the retreat, you could have saved them by thinking about peeling for your team. Seems to be a trend. I mentioned it a lot for your D.Va play. You're not as focused on peeling for your team. Although it's Hero League, so I understand that. Rich here on the chase here. This is actually the correct decision to chase. The rest of his team just like being AFK and not helping out is kind of bad. And you're actually going to die, saving them.
Destroyed a fort.
So yeah, your mech was here, your mech was dead no matter what. So knocking them away, just... Yeah, I noticed they try and re-engage. That's just a problem. I mean, I have that problem no matter what tank I'm playing. Every time I peel, I'm like... They're just like, for some reason, decide to pick another fight, thinking that they're helping. So, this is the bad thing about Hero League, right? You're not on columns. You can't really communicate what you're doing. So there's two approaches. Is you don't peel because your team doesn't let you peel anyway, or you just focus on your own play, or you peel all the time and accept that sometimes someone's going to do something dumb despite that. I'm not going to say there's a right answer in that situation, but for other people who are watching, if you're not playing the tank and your tank is, you feel like a fight's lost and you're starting to back up and your tank looks like they're going back in, stop and ask yourself, are they just trying to make sure I get away? But your mech was dead no matter what. You could have potentially... I guess that would have... Like, you would have saved yourself regardless if you just focused on your own play. But it's like, the correct time to peel for them was here, not here. Yeah, that was well played by Illidan, using Hunt to get out. Turns out Hunt is a pretty good escape against a lack of stuns. It's a pretty good escape regardless, actually. The cast time is not that long. Pressure. This is currently a 5v3 with the objective up. Getting the camp here helps a little bit, but why not just make sure you cap the objective as aggressively as possible? That's not a you problem, that's a team problem. That's just like a Hero League problem. Everyone always wants to do camps for some reason. So you're at a point in the game where you now have a global in the form of Hunt, so you should be together with your team probably all of the time. Like, your 4-man should always be together while Illidan pressures off lanes. They don't have a global, so they're not going to be able to respond to that with anything but Asmo's trait, which, I mean, Asmo's trait's good, but it doesn't beat an Illidan. That would be a ridiculously powerful trait. Can you imagine? This is a good example of teams not being together. Vala was not with her support and not behind her tank. Rich Hero went for the flank on the immobile Arthas. You can do this. You can walk this way on a tank when you are playing a highly mobile tank, but not an immobile tank. So Arthas should die here. Unless Divine Shield comes down. Which it did. It's a worthwhile trade, though. Divine Shield basically just saved Arthas from dying there and did nothing else. And you're getting a top fort, you get 16. Cap top. Illidan should cap top and everyone else should rotate bottom. There'll be a minion wave along soon enough. There's a wall here. He can get Hunt back up if he needs it. Instead of Thrall capping top. And this is one of the frustrating things about Hero League is even if you know what the correct rotation is, 4 people bot, right away to cap and put pressure and maybe look for a pick on whoever's recapping. You can't do it unless the rest of your team actually rotates. So clear mid, pressure mid in the meanwhile. Yeah, this is the right decision based on the fact that your team didn't come, but it's not the right decision in an overall sense. This is actually the frustrating part about Hero League in my mind, is you have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the optimal thing to do is, not if you had coordination, but based on what your team's already doing, and they're probably not going to change course. That was a good explosion. Force. I think the Uther probably might have been able to save the Nubrak if his heals had been up, but he actually turned around the moment the mech explosion went down. So you're guaranteeing the zoning there. Guarantees the Dragon Knight, because people aren't just interested in going in. By the way, I don't like the first Dragon Knight you got in it because you were there. I don't like putting essentially the only quote-unquote peel, only tank-ish hero in the Dragon Knight, so it really should have been the Thrall or the Illidan. I like that quite a bit more this go around. That just goes back to every time you're talking about the Dragon Knight or the Garden Terror, if you can pick who to put in it, it should be the person who's most redundant to your team comp. Two decisions you could make here. This keeps going down no matter what. You guys could pressure mid wall and get it. That's an extra, 1,300 experience. Yeah, plus it's kind of weird being a pilot in a mech in a dragon. I mean, that's just Matryoshka dolls. That's old hat. You can ask Zarya about that. She'll explain it. Makes perfect sense. You always nitrous away. This is nitrous is like so tetchy that it's a little bit hard. I think I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to queue out so you can guarantee that you knock back and then go back out the other way. You're wasting a little bit of time by doing that, because you can create a lot more space for your team if you immediately knock away and then go this way. Also, you'll have less of a problem with your team trying to help when you peel for them if you immediately queue to knock and then turn around, because you'll end up here instead of like here, so your team will be chasing you, being like, oh yeah, we're leaving, as opposed to. But you're actually going to turn around. I don't like this decision. This is even talent here, 5v4, because the Dragon Knight's not here. And you're the one who turned around and initiated this, so I blame you. I don't. Where's Richiro going? I don't. Why was he there? I don't understand. I don't understand people who play Arthas like he has super mobility, because he doesn't. And you don't even have ghouls. Like, this is almost the least survivable Arthas build. And he's like constantly wandering off deep into enemy territory. But Diablo has like some mobility. Arthas has 0 mobility. And he literally talented into no survivability. Like, there's survivability at 1, there's survivability at 7. You can make an argument about Immortal Coil, I guess, but it doesn't really increase the healing that much. And Icebound is just way better. And obviously, no ghouls. Illidan can actually... I don't know why Illidan's backing up here. Illidan can actually solo core. If you guys kept this fight going and Illidan was on core and you didn't let them hearth, he could end the game. Greymane's dead now, so it's less appealing as an option. But if Greymane hadn't died there, Asma knows. Asma's hearthing. That's like a competitive call thing. This is not something I would recommend doing in Hero League. Even if you do have an Illidan on core. Illidan on core is actually one of the scariest things in the entire game. And of course he'd be able to get out if he did get rotated on. The chase is a real thing. Scroll's gonna go down again. Aw, the juke! The juke by Uther. Feels bad. You should be able to end here. I like that decision. To get the mech back. Yeah, there we go. And you're gonna have explosion here in a second. Very, very, very valuable. Illidan left. So here's the Hero League problem. Your Greymane's dead, your Illidan left. Do you stay here? Use your mech explosion just as an escape and for wave clear, which is totally reasonable. Why and when you can do camps? I don't know. I don't know. I think this guy's actually played pretty well as Illidan, but he might not realize exactly how strong Illidan is on core. And then he initiates into a 1v3. You get rooted to trying to peel for him. He's just going in. He can actually kill the Vala here. He does. Unreal. Didn't even hunt the Vala. Gets the kill on the Vala. Hasn't yet learned that you do lose. Again, like in the early game, laser build Asmo can 1v1 Illidan. In the late game, you can't kill an Asmodan who has laser on you as Illidan. You just can't do it. I don't think you can do it even with Sixth Sense, which he does have, because and you shouldn't take this talent honestly into Asmo, because I guess maybe if you're using it for globes, but you're still gonna get dumpstered by laser. So it's funny. It's funny watching players who are obviously pretty good at a hero, but have some like knowledge gaps. Dies to laser on Asmo, doesn't know that. Can solo core, doesn't know that, but otherwise is playing like fairly well. How did you get that back so fast? Oh, you have PPPU. It's like... So I like Nanoweave Suit, by the way, here. For that, if you're going to play with PPPU in this aggressive style, you're going to like get it back instantaneously. I like that decision. Hey, Johnny the Clown. How you doing? At this point, though, like this game should be over. And you're just hunting people down. This game is getting, like, hilariously levels. What? Grayman's doing a camp! What the... Why is... There's a... I'd like everyone to know. I'd like everyone to know. I'd like everyone to know. This is a master level game in NA. This is a Masters MMR game. And apparently the Grayman is GM. So 20 to 18, two lanes of catapult pressure, Illidan, open core, 5v5, does a camp. Another Divine Shield used on Arthas. Yeah, I mean, you could get it. You could get... Rayman actually could have gotten the DK. Could have gone top, gotten that, gone bottom, gotten this, and then gotten the... He's doing another camp instead, though, because this camp is super important. How do people play Hero League and not get, like, so tilted? This game would literally be over. Like, literally would be over if he had just come to core 20 to 18. And instead he's complaining. D.va's so ridiculous in the game. Look at this. The mech goes down. One PPPU. The mech's back. This is absolutely ridiculous. And props to Lovely for this play in the late game, just constantly delaying here. Like, Illidan finally ends up going in camp. Beautiful explosion. And gonna get back in the mech! They've had to kill the mech like 5 times now, and never, ever actually gotten to kill. Lovely. I love this synergy between Pew 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 and Nanoweave Suit. I love this synergy. I can't do it. They're making this hard on themselves by grouping up, too. I think both those Pew Pew Pews have hit 2 people. Oh my god, why? Why do you need to get that keep? This building, if you kill this building, guys, if this building dies, it's called the core. The game ends and your team wins. Why did you make me review this game?
Red team's core is under attack.
This is legit not over? This is legit not over. Okay, so this game should have been over like at the sub 15-minute mark. we're now coming up on 17:30. Like, most of the not ending can be attributed to the Greymane. The Illidan going for the top keep instead of core. Having played on every major region in Hero League except China, it's definitely Korea's the most competitive and has the best understanding of when they can end, and then it's a U, and then it's an A, and then it's an A. It's not that it's not like everyone in EU understands. It's that more people understand, and stupidity has its. You guys know about herd immunity, right? Most people get vaccinated. For the people who can't get vaccinated for whatever reason are basically protected by the fact that everyone else is immune, right? Stupidity works the same way, or bad judgment works the same way. If 1 in 9 people have bad judgment, or 1 in 10 people have bad judgment, well, then everyone on one team it can end when they want to, and 4 out of 5 know when to end, and generally the 5th person will just like tag along because everyone's doing it anyway. But it's when there's like 3 people who have no clue that they can end. And in this case it was, or even 2 people who have no clue that they can end, then you're in a lot of trouble. So in Korea, I feel like 1 out of 15 people don't know when they can end. And in EU, I feel like it's maybe 1 out of 9 or 10 people don't know when they can end. In Korea, and in A, I feel like it's 1 out of 4 or 5 people don't know when they can end. So you don't notice it as much in EU and Korea because herd immunity, but you notice it a lot more in A because it spreads. Lovely, tell me you don't lose this game. Because your team's actually throwing hard enough right now that they could potentially lose. Illidan could solo this core. Like, Arthas can't get on top of him because he can just keep diving over the core. Like, I really legit think that Illidan could end the game right now in a 1v2. He'd need to be a really good Illidan player, but I think it is possible. That's true. Illidan has never gone on core. And it's one of those things, like, if you're an Illidan player, you should know that you can solo core. It's almost the point where I don't even want to play without comms in a team. Yeah, I mean, I've been there for a while. I started playing on Korea just to try and, you know, grind up a new account and renew my interest in the game. But I really am at a point where, outside of playing on a full team in comms, it's just... I cannot believe this core is alive. I, like, legit cannot believe this core is alive.
Soon the shrines shall awaken, heroes.
Well, yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. I know a lot of people who watch the stream regularly hear me say this, but people who are really highly ranked on ladder in Hero League, for the most part, are very good mechanical players. They don't understand win conditions. They don't understand timings, necessarily. They don't understand laning matchups in many cases. They are really good at outplaying their opponents, so they win a lot of 1v1s, or they secure a lot of kills from their team on heroes like Greymane, like Illidan. But in many cases, they have just no clue. This game, 20-18, was endable. Like, 5v5, endable. Especially with an Illidan, because Illidan is one of the best core heroes in the game. If you're ever just going to go core, you got to look at your comp and be like, can we go core? And if you have an Illidan, the answer is always yes. That's how good Illidan is on core. You can just, doesn't matter what your support is, what your tank is. If you have an Illidan, you can go core if you're in a situation where, you know, coring is reasonable. But this is a Greymane who's apparently a GM player, an Illidan who's a Masters player, and they don't know that they could have ended. They, like, legit do not know that they both had an opportunity to end and did not.
The red team's
Like, at this point, when your team is being this bad, the only thing you can do is group with them or try and, if you're the right hero, try and backdoor core. I actually would be curious to see if D.va could backdoor core with this build. Because it seems doable, honestly. Since you never die, apparently. That explosion was a little late. I think you actually used, I don't think your explosion was available though, right? You used it as soon as it became available. Fine, show up for the save. Illidan ends up going down. It's unfortunate. That, by the way, D.va's heroic is really her explosion. So it's unfortunate it doesn't show at the top. But you have the bar, right? So your team shouldn't look for fights unless all the heroics are available, just as a general rule. If your team doesn't have all your heroics available, especially in the very, very late game, you shouldn't be looking for full-on 5v5 fights. If D.va doesn't have explosion, you shouldn't be looking for a fight. I don't know if you could have healed there. You were rooted. Maybe you could have pinged retreat. But your team seemed eager to delay and fight. Someone with wave clear needs to back and deal with this. Thrall's dead. Greymane could actually... Greymane has enough damage that he could solo core, I think, with the camp here. Yeah, he absolutely could. He could just go burn down core with Worgen form. It's not going to. It's going to go for the fight instead. Roll. One of the things about Greymane into a Nibrak is if you wait till he puts a beetle, uses an ability, and a beetle spawns in front of him, you can actually always hit him with the tail of Cocktail. It does a lot of extra damage. Greymane's really good against Nibrak. One more Q. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so you're gonna get the Dragon Knight, and the Greymane should be able to end unless he just AFKs. Yeah, and it's like, and you should win. This is a point in the game where your map pressure is so insane that there's no reason you should ever lose. Because even if they take a full-on 5v5, you just have to, you know, end. And they're not gonna. This is gonna find the end. The Dragon Knight's gonna do like 10% of Core's health per hit. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six auto attacks. Core died. 21-minute Dragon Knight. I guess it was a 20-minute Dragon Knight in terms of scaling, because it does tick up every minute. Really good D.va play. Consistently impressed with your D.va play. And it's really unfortunate that I feel like a lot of the corrections I have for your D.va play have to do with how to properly play D.va in those solo tanking situations. But your team sucks at backing up. So it's like never works out. Oh, hot Stros. That's not good.